Sitting in the morning sun, I'll be sitting when the evening comes, watching the ships roll in, and then I'll watch them roll away again. Yeah, I'm sitting.
So I am at alternate location number 2. I'm at the Heritage Preserve Park up here in North Myrtle Beach. And I am kind of glad I came because I've never been here. I've heard about this place, but there's so many places to go when you live up here. And we're gonna do our real estate market update for the first half of 2023 up here, mainly because the office is boring and it is so gorgeous outside right now. I can't even begin to describe to you. It's mid-60s. I'm wearing shorts and a t-shirt. It's partly cloudy. There's an ocean breeze coming off the Atlantic there. And God, I almost don't want to talk. It is so pretty and quiet and pristine here. Look at this. And you'd never know, but this is smack in the middle of the city of North Myrtle Beach. That's nuts. So we're just gonna walk around and I'm gonna show you guys some of the sights and sounds while I talk about the real estate market here. Hopefully this is entertaining for you. If nothing, I try to make sure that you guys aren't bored and I try to make sure that it's informative. So let's see what we can do about that today. So if we're talking about the real estate market, the first thing that we should talk about is the supply side, right? Supply and demand. It kind of determines the market conditions. So the supply of homes here in Myrtle Beach is nowhere near as bad as it is nationwide. Nationwide, per the Atlantic magazine, the market is anywhere from I think they said 4, 5, 6, 7 million up to 35 million homes short for all the people that we have. Now, housing shortage is most chronic in the big cities. Mainly because they're not licensing any more homes to be made. They'd rather put up apartment buildings, that kind of stuff. So in a way that kind of works for some of you guys that are watching this video. I'll get into that in a little bit though. Now in Myrtle Beach, as recent as just 1 year ago, we were horribly short on houses. It wasn't that long ago that we only had like a month's worth of housing, which basically in English what that meant is that for all the people that were trying to buy homes in Myrtle Beach at the time, they would have literally run out of places to buy in a month. That's how they measure, you know, inventory. It's months of housing. So 6 months ago we were right around 2, and we're almost, I think we're right at 3 months worth of housing supply. So that means that as far as the supply end of things here in Myrtle Beach, it's gotten a little better. The builders back then, they were really behind. They couldn't even get wood. They couldn't even get supplies. There were labor shortages. They'd hire, you know, they'd bring in crews from out of state just to try to catch up. So that has, to an extent, that has eased a little bit. The builders have caught up. And that's a good thing for a buyer because at the time, honestly, these people were so, the supply was so low for housing that you would go into, especially these new home builders. There's a certain one that I shall not name. And they were auctioning off the homes as built. And even if it was only half built, if you were like, hey, we want the green shutters instead of the blue shutters, they're like, well, tough, you're gonna get what we have. And like it or not, if you didn't like that, move on, somebody else would take the house. We are nowhere near that now. So as far as the supply, we do have more supply. We're not oversupplied, we're still a little undersupplied, but there is a healthy number of homes for you to choose from if you're shopping for a house here. And that's a good thing. Another little quick aside, just to let you guys know a little about the area. I am standing in a marsh. And I honestly didn't know the difference between the two, but there's a difference between a marsh and a swamp. Swamp is what you would expect. It's swampy, it's got alligators and all that, but it's fresh water. A marsh is basically a swamp except with salt water. So the ecology is a little different. You see over here, I'm right near the ocean. You see a lot more ocean birds. There's crabs. And depending on the access that it has to the ocean, you may actually see ocean fish, like right up in that water. Now, as far as the demand side of things, here at the beach, demand remains high. There are people that are cashing out from cities all across the country. There are professionals that have jobs that can move around, and those people are definitely trying to move here, even right here in the middle of winter. Again, this is one day before New Year's. I'm wearing shorts and a t-shirt. It's in the mid-60s. It's not crowded here. Not yet. Wait till tourist season. But, man, why wouldn't you want to move here, you know? And that demand bears itself out on paper. For a stat that we look at to try to gauge demand, we look at the number of days that a given house stays on the market, which is, you know, from the day that it's listed all the way up until the day that it's closed and it goes into somebody else's name. And since the middle of 2021, I think the spring of 2021, if I remember right, we've been under 120 days on market. And that is a huge indicator of a super healthy demand in the given market. And I shouldn't be getting calls in December, but I'm getting calls in December. December is basically nobody wants to move during Christmas, right? Well, not in Myrtle Beach. There is definitely a strong demand and a sustained demand here. When I grow up, I definitely want to live here. Wow. This is this is prototypical North Myrtle Beach right here. So let's talk about the health of the real estate market itself. The health of the real estate market is really, at this point, it is centered on two things: inflation and interest rates. So inflation and interest rates go hand in hand. Inflation goes up, you have to raise interest rates to basically beat the inflation, to beat it back. That's the only way to grow yourself out of the inflation problem. And to date, they haven't raised interest rates as hard as they could. Now, I'm sure they're just hoping that they don't have to, but did a little research on the Forbes website where all the smart people gather. And some of them are saying, hey, inflation isn't as bad as we thought. But a lot of them are saying that inflation, it's not going away unless they jack interest rates hard. Now, are they talking about jacking interest rates like they did back in the late 70s and early 80s when it hit 18% and basically destroyed the housing market? No, they're not talking that. But if I were a gambling man, and I'm not, if I were a gambling man, I would bet money that sometime in the middle of this year, we're going to see interest rate hikes. And those interest rate hikes, if they hit, it is going to dampen the market a little bit, maybe more than a little bit. Speaking about the health of the real estate market, I'm going to go off on a little tangent here. And this is mainly directed at the folks who live here in Myrtle Beach, most of whom have moved from other parts of the country and they've discovered how awesome and amazing it is here. And they're the same people that are on, and I'm not saying everybody, but these are the same people that are on Facebook saying, you know, oh my God, don't move here. We hate it when people move here. Well, you got to understand, there are places in the country, people's homes, that at one point were awesome, right? Like New York, at one point was a really cool place to live. Chicago, Seattle, especially Seattle, at one point recently was a really nice place to live. And man, I don't know if you've been following the news, but those places are falling to pieces. And you've got people, some people have the means to move. Some people can carry their jobs with them, or they can sell out their house in that place and retire because the demand is so high still in those cities, even with all that. But to sit here and say, hey, I don't want people moving to Myrtle Beach, you know, what's with all these people from the north moving to Myrtle Beach? That's not fair. That's not cool at all, man. Their home is destroyed, and not all of them have the means to come down here. I mean, you got people that have to walk their kids through that crap. There is an app that you can download. I swear to God, you can go check it out. There is an app that you can download that shows you the location of all the heroin needles and piles of human excrement on the streets of San Francisco for the people that live in San Francisco, which, by the way, is the #1 breaking and entering capital in the world as far as smash and grabs from cars. How are we to deny somebody that lives in a place like that and try to tell them that, you know, look down on them for wanting to come to a place like this where there's freedom, there is liberty. You have the right to live your best life here. I think that's incredible, and I think that should be preserved, and I think that should be celebrated, not discouraged. Okay, rant over. So apologies, I feel kind of strongly about that. Let's get to our conclusion. You're looking for a 6-month real estate market update for Myrtle Beach because you're trying to figure out whether it would be a good idea to buy a house here now or later. Let's talk about it. So as far as the supply of homes here in Myrtle Beach, the supply, it could be better. I honestly, ironically, thanks to the interest rates being where they are, I don't see the supply going down necessarily, and I don't see it necessarily going up in the next 6 months. So I see that being low to mid and kind of staying there for the next 6 months. Now, as far as the demand isn't, I don't see that changing either. The reasons that people are moving here, those aren't going to change. And if anything, it may accelerate going into the summer. So the demand may actually start creeping up a little bit. Even if interest rates bump just a smidge, that might happen. Now, as far as the market health, all of everything that I'm saying here is predicated on interest rates not skyrocketing. If they stay where they are, Myrtle Beach is going to have a strong market going forward in the next 6 months, regardless of what happens in the rest of the country. Because the weather, the cost of living, the taxes, the conditions in the cities themselves where people are bailing out of them and coming here, that's not changing in the next 6 months. It's just not gonna. So my prediction, if interest rates stay the same, there's going to be a strong market and it's going to be a great chance to buy. However, if they decide to stem in, and they're gonna, I'm telling you, they're gonna have to do it sooner or later. If they start to raise interest rates to try to stem inflation, it's gonna affect the market here. And the higher the rates, the worse it's gonna get. Because right now, the only thing that's holding back the market here in Myrtle Beach is the rates. That's it. So if you're thinking about buying a house in the next 6 months, spring might not be a bad idea. I say that because if they're going to raise interest rates, they're going to do it sooner rather than later. And this is December going into January. You'll see the news reports. If you're going to make a move, I would start exploring it now. That's my prediction. Ho hum, just another breathtaking view. And oh, I wish I could have pointed the camera. It's too late. There's a fish over there. Ah, God, this place is crazy. So there's my market prediction. If you are one of those guys that's thinking about moving, I'm going to put my phone number and my email on the screen here for you. If you want, you can email me, you can call me, you can text me, whatever you're comfortable with, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks for watching. Hope you were entertained. Hope you were informed. And there just went a giant bird. God, why couldn't it fly behind me? That would have been so cool. Anyway, hope it's nice where you guys are at. Happy New Year. See you in Myrtle Beach.